The Hyundai Sonata nameplate has been around for 30 years. The cars that we drove in the early days, well, let's just say they weren't exactly design queens. But remember, this was the family segment. And back then, design wasn't considered a big selling point. But then around 2009, Hyundai kicked things up with the new Sonata. Lots of lines, lots of curves, and the car was a big success. Well, now you're looking at the 7th generation Sonata. Now, excuse the expression, but really, I look at it and I go, I think they've really dumbed down the design quite a bit. It just doesn't have that shapely figure. So, are they just trying to save money, or, and excuse the pun, maybe this is all by design?
The last generation vehicle was very successful, and it got people to look at our vehicle, and they really liked the styling of it. And obviously when they drove it for a period of time, they really loved the car. But the new design language, it's a more mature design language. It's going to last a lot longer. We think it's a much more handsome design, and it's actually much more classic in its approach.
Well, since Hyundai designers didn't have to spend so much time in the exterior, they put a lot of effort into the interior, especially the console and the instrument cluster. I'm happy to report none of that touchy-feely stuff. It's all mechanical, knobs and switches, and I think it's the best-looking console in this segment. And speaking of doing things well, it's 2014, but people still ask me, what about quality when it comes to this company? Well, I'm here to tell you they are #1 in quality, or #4, depending how you look at it.
The J.D. Power Initial Quality Survey surveys consumers primarily in the United States, and we basically did very well in that. We came out 4th overall, just 2 points behind brands such as Lexus, and actually just behind Porsche and Jaguar, and we're actually the #1 non-luxury make, ahead of all of those Japanese brands that everyone thinks has great quality.
They're building on a very successful existing model. One of the things that they realize is they've got an icon with the Genesis luxury sedan. They're okay with this car looking like one of their other cars. I think they're trying to develop a bit of a corporate design language.
We're continuing with the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder direct gasoline injection engine. The overall power is actually dropped a little bit, but the torque numbers are virtually the same, and our fuel economy is a lot better. For those that want a little more oomph and a little more excitement in their drive, we have a 2-liter turbo. And the 2-liter turbo puts out 245 horsepower and has all of its peak torque at 1,350 RPM, so you really feel it launches right off the line, and it has a real great feel when you're driving that car.
We woke up this morning to rain. Not a good thing. However, it did help expose a pet peeve that involved the wipers. Have a listen. Noisy. I know it'd drive you crazy on a long road trip. Now again, it could be just this particular vehicle, but I would suggest Hyundai have a look at it, and if you're taking one for a test drive, you know what to look for.
Probably its biggest demerit point is that it's not a crossover. The fact that it's a sedan doesn't get a lot of people interested in the first place, but the reality is with the backseat room and the rear cargo space, the way it drives and the better fuel economy, I think people need to start looking at these type of cars instead of gas-guzzling crossovers.
You leave the grocery store, your arms are full of groceries, the key fob's in your pants pocket, and you gotta get into the trunk. What do? Well, if it's a Ford, you wave your foot underneath. If it's a Sonata, you stand here and you wait 3 seconds. Presto. But as you can see, I'm faced with the same dilemma. It's not all the way open. My only suggestion, don't shop alone.
When we launched the last generation Sonata, we actually were able to achieve the 2nd best sales in the segment, the intermediate segment. We're striving for that again.
This company's been on upswing for probably 15 years, and every product and every model gets better and better and better. This car now, beyond having the features, I think competes with so-called entry-level luxury cars that are $10,000 to $15,000 more. I mean, it's really that good.
So Hyundai considers the new Sonata more handsome and more grown up than its predecessor, which it described as beautiful. Personally, I will take beautiful. But remember, this is a company that continues to be on a roll, and it intends on taking this design, which it describes as Fluidic Sculpture 2.0, and putting it through the entire lineup. As for the vehicle, I like it. Quiet drive, ton of room in the trunk, and as far as the powertrains go, I would take the turbo. Now, right now in this segment, the Sonata is sitting in 4th position behind the Fusion, the Camry, and the Accord. And if those top 3 are on your shopping list, I would suggest adding a 4th.